Good morning, class. Assalamu alaikum to all. As you all know, that we have completed our half of the chapter of the voice in the dark. Now we are going to complete its remaining part. Let us start from the second paragraph of the chapter of the page 104. The fast passenger train carried a blind baggage car, which means that the end nearest to the engine was blind and having no door. Our object was to suddenly appear from a hiding place, darkness being favorable, and leap on the step of this car. And from that place of the platform, this being done when the train was in motion, knowing that the conductor, who was always on the watch for such doings, rarely stopped the train to put man off. Even when sure of their presence, if he saw us before the train started, he would certainly take means to prevent us from riding. When we had once taken possession of this car, no man could approach us until we reached the next stopping place, which would probably be 50 miles or much more. At that place, we would dismount, conceal ourselves, and, when it was again in motion, make another leap for our former place. Of course, the engineer and fireman could reach us, but these men were always indifferent and never interfered, their business being ahead instead of behind the engine. You see, what they did again then? They had planned to travel in the passenger bus, which was quite faster than the previous one. They had planned to travel in that, and they will leap from that train to the car. They had thought, as you know, that they are traveling in the train without any ticket, so their motive was to get hide from the ticket man and from the other peoples. For that purpose, they had planned to get off from the train while the ticket man came. And they had planned when he goes on, then they again went into that train. The area they were in was the area of the in where the engineer and the fireman was working. They had also the fear that they might get catch them, but they knew that they are quite busy with their works. They don't have such time to look another person. So they got relaxed that they won't catch them. What happened after then? The train whistled almost before we were ready and pulled slowly out of the station. I allowed my companion the advantage of being the first to jump, owing to his maimed hand. The train was now going faster and faster, and we were forced to keep pace with it. Making a leap, he caught the handlebar and sprang lightly on the step. After which, my hand quickly took possession of this bar, and I ran with the train. Prepared to follow his example, to my surprise, instead of at once taking his place on the platform, my companion stood thoughtlessly irresolute on the step, leaving me no room to make the attempt. But I still held to the bar, though the train was now going so fast that I found great difficulty in keeping a step with it. I shouted to him to clear the step. This he proceeded to do, very deliberately. I thought. Taking a firmer grip on the bar, I jumped, but it was too late, for the train was now going at the rapid rate. My foot came short of the step, and I fell, and still clinging on the hand to the handlebar, was dragged several yards before I relinquished my hold. And there I lay for several minutes, feeling a little shaken, whistle, whilst the train passed swiftly on into the darkness. What had happened? When the time came that they had to get into the train, he asked his companion first to get into the train because we knew that his companion's hand was maimed, having three fingers only. His companion got into the train, but being thoughtlessly, he didn't give him the sight, him the way to get on. His companion was standing on the step where he had to step on as well. But his companion was thoughtlessly not giving him the way to stand on. Well, the writer was kept on holding the handbar. He was not leaving. The rain was going faster and faster, and he was not leaving the handlebar. He asked his companion to leave the way so that he may also get in, but at that time it was not the time to get in because the train got more faster and faster by the time. So it was now in the rapid state. He was still holding the bar and kept on trying to get into the train, but the time has lost. Finally, he had to leave the handlebar, and on the rapid rate, he got to fell. He had dragged several yards in the darkness. He had fallen down. What happened then? The last para? Even then, I did not know what had happened, for I attempted to stand, but found that something had happened to prevent me from doing this. Sitting down in an upright position, I then began to examine myself, and now found that the right foot was severed from the ankle. This discovery did not shock me so much as the thoughts which quickly followed, for as I could feel no pain, I did not know but what my body was in several parts, and I was not satisfied until I had examined. What happened then? He had got severely injured. His foot was damaged, his ankle was damaged, but he was not feeling pain at that time. But he couldn't be able to get on his steps. He was feeling that each and every body part of his body part got damaged. He was trying to examine himself. Seeing a man crossing the track, I shouted to him for assistance. He looked in one direction and another, not seeing me in the darkness, and was going his way when I shouted again. This time he looked full my way, but instead of coming nearer, he made one bound in the air, nearly fell, scrambled to his feet, and was off like the shoot from gun. This man was sought after for several weeks by people curious to know who he was, but was never found, and no man came forward to say, I am he. Having failed to find this man, people at last began to think I was under a ghostly impression. Probably that was the other man's impression, for whoever saw mighty make the same speed as fear. What happened then? As you know that he had fallen down into the darkness, he was asking for help for to many peoples. A man he saw, he asked for the help, but as there was the darkness, the man came to him but went away because he didn't saw him. Another man came, he again asked for help, but he also couldn't able to see him and went away. By doing this several times, people started to thought that there was some ghost. There was no reality. People thought that there's a darkness and there's someone, there's some ghost who is making some noises. Another man after this approached, who was a workman on the line, and at the sound of my voice he seemed to understand at once what had occurred. Coming forward quickly, he looked me over, went away, and in a minute or two returned with the assistance of several others to convey me to the station. A number of people were still there, so that when I was placed in the waiting room to bide the arrival of a doctor, I could see no other way of keeping a calm face before such a number of eyes than by taking out my pipe and smoking, an action which, I am told, caused much sensation in the local press. So finally, there was a man who came to him and helped him. He was a workman on the line. He understood on the first voice of his that what had occurred. He came to him, then again went away, called someone else, another people, to put him on and shifted him to the hospital. What is the notes now? The author of the story, W. H. Davis, lost his foot in this accident. He was taken to hospital and looked after well. He had to undergo two operations and his leg was amputated, cut off from the knee. When he was better and could move about on crutches, he returned to England. He then began to write poems and stories, but had a hard time trying to find a publisher. All these incidents and experiences are described in his autobiography, which is well worth reading. You see, this is the real story of a W. H. Davies. He's the man telling his story. All this has happened to him in the reality. And after what had happened, he had lost his leg. He got suffered from two operations. After that, his leg had to cut it off. After that, he went to the England. He began to write poems and these stories, and then he tried to publish them all. So finally, he became the writer.